good afternoon, good morning, good evening, depending on which part of the world you are joining me from. How are you doing? And welcome to Growth Habits with Ngozi. I am your personal guide on this journey of growth. So, how is it with you? How have you been? How is everything with you? Um, have you been practicing some of the things that we've been talking about? Um, did you do your personal reset audit as we said last week? That is where we asked ourselves, what must we stop? What must we start? What must we continue? Did you do it? And did you set a release day, a day in which you will let go of something? Maybe a toxic pattern, maybe a habit, maybe an item, maybe an old commitment. I hope we were able to practice some of those things from last week. I pray we did. I want to believe that we did. For me personally, um, I did not do my research audit. I have to be very honest. I didn't do it because I had a lot of distractions, let me put it that way. I didn't do my personal reset audit, but I did do a release day. I did take one day in this past week to release something, and I released the habit. So, what have you? What did you do? What did you do? Which of the action points from last week did you carry out? Let me just make sure we're live everywhere we should be live. Um, just do a quick check. Okay, we are live on Facebook. Let me do a sound check as well. All right, so we're live on Facebook. We are live on Instagram. Yay. Okay, yeah, we're live on Instagram. Let me check on LinkedIn. We need to be okay. We're live on LinkedIn and we're live on YouTube. So we're good everywhere. Okay, so I was asking which of the action steps from last week did we take? And please, once you join, do let me know that you're here. Let me know where you're joining me from. I would love to know where you're joining me from. Okay. So yeah, I've told us which of the action steps from last week that I carried out and the one that I did not. So let me know also in the comments which of the action points from last week did you carry out. Um, so let me do our quick recap as we usually do. Yeah, we usually do a quick recap of what we did last. I think we've done 2 weeks now, if I can remember my dates properly. Yes, we've done 2 weeks in this month of December. And in this whole month of December, we're talking about habits of vision that is preparing for the upcoming year. So that is what we've been talking about. And session one was reflect with purpose. That was session one. And we talked about the fact that reflection is the foundation of whatever vision you have, whatever thing you want to achieve. You start with reflection. You begin with looking at what has happened, because you really can't move forward if you have not understood where you have been. You can't go far. It's not as if you can't move at all, but you can't go far forward if you have not understood where you're coming from. You can't move forward in wisdom if you have not understood where you're coming from. And if you have not evaluated an experience, you can't learn from it. You can't grow from it. It's not experience that is the teacher. As we said that time, it is examined, it is evaluated experience that we learn from, that helps us grow, not just experience. So that was in our first session. We also learned the 5 L's of reflection. That is lessons, losses, lips, limits, longings. That was what we did in session 1 in this series. For session 2, we talked about resetting and aligning. Resetting and aligning. That's letting go of what is holding you back. Yeah, and we said that before we can truly have clarity in our vision, clarity in what we are needing to do, after we have reflected, there is a need to release. We have reflected. We have seen what we need to let go. We've seen our lessons, we've seen our losses, we've seen our lets, we've seen our limits, we've seen the longings that we have. We need to follow it by release. And we said that it's not everything that's holding you back, all of them are not sin. All of them are not sin. Some are just weights. So we need to be able to reset with wisdom. We need to be able to realign. Because when we realign, we prepare for the new direction that we are going. We need to be able to reset, and we need to be able to realign. Those were the things we talked about last week. We said that we should release what no longer aligns with where God is taking us. And the fact of, we said that reflection helps us see, but release helps us to make room. So when we reflect, we see what needs to be done, we see where we need to go. But when we release, when we do the reset and realignment, we make the room for the new that's about to come to us or to come into our lives. So now we're moving to the next step in this series, and we're talking about crafting a vision, the actual crafting of the vision, the actual putting in place that vision that we need to move forward, setting goals, but not just goals. We're going to be talking about setting God-aligned goals. We all set goals, and I think many a times our goals for the new year, for a new season, they don't come to fruition, not because the goals are not good, but because they are not God aligned. They are not aligned to our purpose. They are not aligned to the things that form part of our new life, that form part of the new direction that we need to go, that form part of where we need to be. The goals are not aligned. We just set goals that are just goals. This is what we want to achieve in this coming year, but they're not aligned to who we are. They're not aligned to who we are becoming. And so we find it difficult to achieve those goals. We find it difficult to remain on track because they're not aligned. So today we're going to look at how to align our visions, to have God-aligned visions, visions that are aligned to our purpose, visions that are aligned to why we are here in this earth. So that is what we're going to look at this today in this session. Once again, please, once you join me, do let me know that you're here. I can see a couple of people on Instagram. I see Francis Mbamalo, thank you for joining me. Greg Okoro, Victory Meso, thank you for joining me today on Growth Habits with Ngozi. So as I go on, what is vision? What really is vision? What really is vision? Vision, for me, is a clear, God-inspired picture of a preferred future, of a future that we want to achieve. And this is guided by purpose, guided by our values, and guided by divine direction. This is what vision is for me. It's direction, but that direction is anchored in God. That direction is guided by wisdom. That direction is then supported by our habits. That is vision. So basically, vision answers the question for me, where is God leading me? And who am I becoming as I go? That is my definition of vision. And that is the question that vision answers for us. Now, this is why it's different from just having goals. This is why it's different from just having goals. Because, goals basically just say, maybe where we are trying to get to, what we are trying to achieve, what we are trying to do. That is basically what goals tell us. But a vision, especially one that is God aligned, helps us see where we are being led to, where God is leading us. What is that future He has in plan for us? What is that purpose He's trying to achieve in and through us? And then, who are we becoming in this process? Who are we becoming as we go on this journey of discovery? So that is vision. And when we talk about God aligned goals, when we talk about God aligned goals, we are talking about goals that, one, agree with God's word, goals that are shaped through prayer. We're talking about goals that are sustained by peace. This part is super important. These goals are sustained by peace, not pressure. Not pressure. They're sustained by peace. And they're goals that reflect purpose. Once your goals meet these, and of course, there will be other criteria, but once they meet these basic criteria, they agree with God's words, they are shaped through prayer, they are sustained by peace, and they reflect purpose. One thing that I have found is that these goals are so much more easier to carry out because there's no pressure. Honestly, there's no pressure. You're not comparing with anybody because you know that your God aligned goals has nothing to do with any other person. So there's no comparison, and it makes these goals easier. Keyword easier, not easy. Easier to achieve because they're aligning. They're helping you see who you are becoming. They're helping you see where you are going, and because they're so aligned, they flow. They flow easier. So um, that is it. So why does this matter? Let me move on. Like I said last week, that I'm trying to I'm trying to make these sessions not 1 hour. I'm struggling. You can see to not make them so long. So I'm trying to see what I can cut off, see what I can compress so that they can fall maybe 30 minutes, 45 minutes at most. So, why does this matter? Why is it important that we have vision, especially God aligned visions and goals? Of course, the Bible tells us that where there is no vision, the people perish. So we know that we need to have vision. We need to know where we are going. We need to know how we are getting there. And generally, when we don't have a vision, the effort we put in becomes exhausting. When we don't have God aligned goals, when our vision is not premised on God, the effort to do things is exhausting. Maybe it's not, I don't know about any other person, honestly, but for me, it is exhausting when I'm trying to achieve goals and these goals are not aligned with God's purposes for my life. It is exhausting. The effort I put in to do those things, to get those things done, is tiring. But when they are God aligned, honestly, they feel easier. Let me use that. I'm careful to say easier and not easy because it's not easy, but it is easier. Then, even when things are not working out, even when there's some pain along the way, It doesn't feel meaningless when your vision is aligned. But when you don't have a God aligned vision, the pain feels like it's useless. When things are not working out, they don't make sense. Nothing makes sense. So, and even when you're making progress, when your goals are not God aligned, even when you're making progress, even when you're making progress, it feels like there's no direction to that progress. You're just moving, but you don't know where you're moving to. You don't know the end point. You don't know where you're going. You're just in motion. It's like they say in a rocking chair, you're in motion, but you're getting nowhere. You're really getting nowhere. You're in motion, you're moving because you're a rocking chair. You're doing like this. You are in motion, but you're not getting anywhere. And that's what it feels like when you don't have a vision, when you don't have God aligned goals. Your progress lacks direction. But when you have vision, when you have God aligned goals, even in pain, truly, this is the one that, what's the word I'm looking for? It really, I don't want to say blows my mind, but that's the only one that's coming to my head. When you have pain, you see the purpose in the pain. When you're struggling, in quote, to achieve that aim, to achieve that goal, to achieve that vision, you're having some things that are not quite working out, but you know that there's a purpose. And that purpose keeps you on track, keeps you going, keeps you going. So it gives pain a purpose. It actually does when you have a vision. And it gives your effort a direction. Like I said, when we were talking about what vision, when you work without vision, it definitely gives the effort a direction. It makes discipline have a reason. You know that there's a reason why I'm going through what I'm going through. You know that there's a reason why um, things are, maybe things are not, like I said, if things are not going as they should. You know that there is a reason. And that reason is your prompt to keep going. Is your prompt to keep going. So, um, that is just a second. All right. So that is why it's essential that we have vision. That is why it's essential that we have vision, that we have God aligned goals, that we don't just set goals that are just out there. We set goals in alignment with God's purposes for our life. Vision, the Bible tells us, I'm going to go Bible today. Bear with me for anyone that is not a Christian, because I'm talking about God aligned goals. So the Bible tells us in Habakkuk that we should write the vision down, make it plain, which tells me that a vision is meant to be clear, is meant to be practical, is meant to be actionable. If the vision, I don't even know how it's possible that your vision is aligned to God's purposes and is not clear. I don't know how that is possible. I really don't know. Or how it's possible that your vision is God aligned and it's not practical. And once again, I don't know how that is possible. I really don't know how that is possible. So we need to, excuse me, keep these things in mind. The vision is meant to be clear. The vision is meant to be practical and actionable. And if you follow the framework I'm going to give us, your vision will be clear, practical, and actionable. The goals you will set for the coming year will be clear, practical, and actionable. Now, let me just give us a quick comparison of normal goals and vision that we are talking about. Goals, it's just like a list of what I want to achieve. Like I said, it's basically a list of what I want to achieve. But a vision is who I am becoming. So it's not what I want to achieve. This is who I am becoming. Goals are usually task focused. Usually they are task focused. But a vision is purpose focused. Purpose focused. So tasks, they are often pressure driven. You know, you feel the pressure to achieve them, you feel the pressure to do the needful. But when you have a vision that is a goal, God aligned goal, it is driven by conviction. That's why I said it is easier, because it is driven by conviction. It's not driven by pressure. You are not pressured to achieve anything. You're convicted. You know this is what you need for your next level. You know this is what you need for what you are, who you are becoming. So it is driven by conviction, not by pressure. This is why it is easier. Now, goals can change often, you know, but generally, when you have a vision that is God aligned and God focused, is mostly long term. The direction it gives to you is long term, because it's taking you to who you are becoming. It's leading you somewhere. You can change your goals anytime, but it's not as if our vision is not, can be amended, can be adjusted, but it barely changes. The core of it barely changes. So goals are meant to serve the vision. Goals are meant to serve the vision. That is why you need to have God aligned goals, so that you can fulfill the vision that is there for your life, the vision for who you are, the vision for who you are becoming. Okay, so now there's 5 questions that I believe that if you ask yourself, it will help you test your goals, to help you test your goals, to ensure that they are fulfilling purpose, to ensure that they are God aligned, to ensure that they are vision focused. Now, the first one is, does this agree with God's word and values? Do these goals align? Are they in alignment? That is A. The mnemonic for this vision filter is align, ALIGN. So A is alignment. Does this agree with God's word and values? This goal that I want to pursue, this goal that I want to carry out, does it agree with God's word and values? If it doesn't, think about it. You might need to get rid of it. 2, does it have longevity? Will this goal matter in the next 5 years? This goal that I want to achieve now, that I've put up, in my list of things I want to do, will it matter in the next 5 years? Not just next year. Will it matter in the next 5 years? Longevity. Then, does it reflect who God is shaping me to become? Identity. Identity is so important when it comes to the things of God. So these things that I'm pursuing, these things I want to achieve, this business I want to do, this action I want to take, does it reflect who God is shaping me to become? Identity. The next thing is, do I have peace about this? Or am I forcing it? That's grace. Remember, looking at the filter that you should pass your goals through to ensure that they are aligning to God's purposes. And we said that the mnemonic for that is align, ALIGN. A, alignment. Does this agree with God's word and values? This goal, this thing that I'm pursuing, this thing that I'm trying to do. L, longevity. Does this still matter? Will it still matter in the next 5 years? Will it still matter in 5 years? Then identity. Does this goal that I'm pursuing, does it reflect who God is shaping me to become? Does it really reflect it? G, grace. Do I have peace about this or am I forcing it? And finally, N, is this right for this season of my life? This goal, is it right for this season of my life? This now season, is it right for my now, for what God is doing now in me? Now, any goal that you're pursuing and it fails this filter, you need to adjust it. Anything that you're trying to do and it fails the filter of align, you need to adjust it. That is A, alignment, L, longevity, I, identity, G, grace, N, now season. Any goal that you're pursuing and it can't pass this filter of these 5 questions, please, it needs adjustment. Otherwise, you're going to struggle to achieve those goals. You're going to struggle with it. Now, there are a few mistakes that we make in goal setting. And I just quickly want to um, look at them before I go to crafting that God aligned vision that we're talking about, those goals that are aligned to God's purposes and God's plan. Now, some of these mistakes that we make are one, we set goals based based on comparison. We are looking at this person, that person, how they're doing, or how well or how not well they're doing. And we set our goals based on those comparisons. That is one way to ensure that your goals don't get fulfilled. You set goals based on comparison. Then you confuse urgency with importance. Some things, yeah, they're urgent, but they're not important. So you need to pursue the things that are important. This is why you must have God aligned goals. Because when your goals are aligned to God, they are important. He's not going to let you run with goals that are not important. They're just urgent for the moment. Remember that your goals have to pass the filter of longevity. Will it matter in the next 5 years? So that is what is important, not urgent. Then overloading yourself when you don't have the capacity for it yet. When you don't have the capacity for it. These are some of the mistakes we make in goal setting that make us not be able to achieve our goals. The next thing is ignoring the season we're in, ignoring our strengths, or even the support that we need in this season, ignoring it. And finally, but this is the most important, it should have come first. There's a reason I left it last. Planning without prayer. I don't really know how. Well, let me not say I don't know because I used to do it. Let me not even go there. Plan without prayer. For your goals to be truly God aligned, prayer must be involved. Prayer must be involved. So you cannot plan without prayer. Okay, so these are some of the common mistakes we make so that make our goals not to be fulfilled, not to be fulfilling. And we tend to drop them along the line because they are not working. All right, so now I'm going to go quickly to looking at crafting God aligned visions, God aligned goals. What are the things that we need to do to craft God aligned goals, God aligned vision? How do we do it? What are the things? And what is the framework for achieving this? And for this framework, I have it in what I call the 4P framework for crafting God aligned goals and vision. First P is prayer. Prayer. Vision starts in God's presence, not on paper. Vision, it starts in God's presence, not on paper. This is key. This is key. This is what has helped me fix goals or set goals, and by the end of the year, I'm ticking off so many boxes of things that I've achieved. Prayer. Because in the place of prayer, you get to know what really God is trying to lead you to. You get to see who He's making you to become. That is where you get to see it. Because it's only when you see that, then you can become it. If you have not seen it, how do you become what you have not seen? It's not possible. So vision starts in God's presence, not on paper. It's not the things you have written down. It has to start with you sitting with God, sitting with Him. So vision starts in God's presence, not on paper. And in this place of prayer, you need to ask God, what are you emphasizing in this season? What are you calling me to focus on? These are the things you ask in the place of prayer. What are you emphasizing? What are you calling me to focus on in this season? Once you're able to do that, honestly, I think you've done half the work. I'm telling you, once you're able to sit in the place of prayer and you find out where the emphasis in this season is, and you find out what God is calling you to focus on in this season, you've done half the work. The next thing that you need to do in crafting God aligned vision is priorities. You have to learn to set priorities. Not everything, not everything can be a goal. Some things in this season, they're not important. Some things in this season cannot be priorities. So, what matters most now? This is why it's important to start with prayer. Because when you have asked God what you're emphasizing in this season, when you have asked Him what He's calling you to focus on, you will know what matters most now and what must come first. You will know these things. So you begin to focus on those things that matter most. Focus on those things that come first. Because truly, your vision needs you to be focused. So you have to have a focus. You have to have what you are pinpointing in this season. The next P is practicality. Practicality. God aligned goals, God aligned vision must be realistic. They must be sustainable. They can't be something that you can never ever achieve. No. And to help you, you break goals down into daily habits, weekly actions, monthly checkpoints to see how you are doing. This is very important because if the goals you're pursuing are not practical, they are more difficult to achieve. They are. Practicality is not a measure of size. Bear this in mind. It's not a measure of size. That I'm saying the goals have to be practical does not mean that they have to be small. Doesn't mean that they have to be small. They just need to be practical. And the practicality is gotten, let me use that word, in the place of prayer, going back to prayer. It is there that you will know really what you need to do to sustain these goals. So the God aligned goals must be realistic and they must be sustainable. They must be sustainable. Then pace, pace. Don't rush it. Don't rush these goals. Don't rush these things you need to achieve. They must be paced. They must be paced. Consistency always beats intensity. So it's not about fire, 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 and then maybe for the first 2 months of the year, you're all fired up, you're moving, and then for the rest of the year, you die off. No, growth cannot be rushed. It's not rushed. So consistency is the key. Pace yourself. Pace yourself. Gain capacity where you lack it. Gain capacity where you lack it, but pace yourself. Everything does not have to be achieved today. No, everything does not have to be achieved today. So pace. Now, this once again, the 4 P's of crafting a God aligned goal. Number one, prayer. Number two, priorities. Number three, practicality. Number four, pace. Very important. When you put these things in practice, you will see that by mid year, you've achieved so much self. First of all, would have achieved a lot. Talk less about the end of the year. So, in crafting your vision, in looking at the vision for this coming year, there's some areas you should look at. This is not an exhaustive list, you know, but these are, I think, key areas: your spiritual life, your health and well being, your relationship, your family, your career, your business, personal growth, finances, the service you're rendering this season, the impact you want to make. These are the areas that you should consider when crafting your vision. But note that not every area needs the same attention. They don't need equal attention, but they all need clarity. You need to be clear in all the areas that surround your life, but you don't necessarily have to give the same attention to all. The areas I might give more attention will be different from yours. This is why the number one point, prayer, is so important. Is in that place of prayer, in that place of communion, in that place where you are asking God, you are talking to Him, you are getting insight from Him. That is why it's the key to crafting God aligned goals and vision. That time of being in God's presence, of seeking His direction, so important. Because in that time, you will know which area needs more attention. You will know where you need to focus more. You will know where you need to lay off. Not that you will not do anything in that area, but you won't apply the same attention as you would in other areas. Now, given this framework that I've given us, I've talked about some don'ts, not do's. I've talked about some don'ts, some common mistakes we make in goal setting. I've talked about the vision filter that you should pass your goals through. And I've talked about the framework for crafting God aligned vision. Given all this, what do you, or what area do you think God is highlighting for you in 2026? What area? What goals in your life needs realignment? What habit do you need to build to support the vision for 2026? What thing must you stop doing? What things must you start doing? These are the things we need to reflect on. These are the things we need to reflect on in this season, at this time. And as we go into this coming week, I would ask that we set aside time. 60 minutes, 90 minutes, even 30 minutes will work actually. Set aside time to have a vision session. Let me call it that. Let me call it that. That's a time where you pray, you write, you reflect concerning this coming year. Write a vision statement for your year based on what you got from your time, from your vision session. Um, your vision statement can be one paragraph, But basically, it says who you are becoming, it says how you want to live, it says what matters most to you. That is your vision statement for 2026. And then choose, let's say, three goals and focus on them. Focus on them. As you choose those goals, identify the habits that will help you for each goal. For each area that you have chosen to focus in 2026, identify one habit that will help you. Because it's one thing to have the vision of where God is leading you, is another thing to sustain it. And it is habits. It's the habits that you form that will sustain that vision. So in closing, vision does not remove effort. Let me say this, it doesn't. It doesn't mean that because now you have God aligned goals, because now you have God aligned vision, you don't have to put in effort. You have to still put in some effort. But now the effort has meaning. The effort you're putting in now has meaning. And when your goals are aligned with God, your life, your life generally moves with peace, moves with clarity, moves with purpose. And this is why I said that when you have God aligned vision, it makes achieving those vision, achieving those goals easier because you have peace, you have clarity, you have purpose, and you move. Even when things are not working out, really, even when things are not working out as you expect, you still keep going. It's not feeling like too much. It's not feeling like too much. But you need to ensure that your goals for 2026 are God aligned, please. They are purpose aligned. Ensure that they are purpose aligned and they become easier to achieve. So next week, we're going to talk about the habits, building habits that match this God aligned vision, this God aligned goals that we have set this week. So next week, that's what we're going to look at. We're going to give some structure and some momentum to our vision, to the God aligned goals that we have set by looking at the habits that will match them, the habits that we can apply, and they will match these goals and they will help us achieve these goals. With that, I have to give myself kudos. I've tried today 45 minutes. With that, we bring to a close today's session of Growth Habits with Ngozi. Thank you all so much for joining me today. For as many as joined live and those that will watch the replay, thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate you. I appreciate your time. I do not take it for granted. Remember to follow us on all our social media handles. We're on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, YouTube. We're on all the social media handles, Growth Habits with Ngozi. I would appeal that you subscribe to our YouTube channel because all our videos are there. You know, yes, they're here on Facebook, but know that Facebook deletes them after a while. So they're not permanent. But on our YouTube channel, they are there. You can go back to the very first growth habits and watch on YouTube. You might not be able to do, you will not even might, you will not be able to do that on Facebook. So please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Don't forget. Thank you all once again for joining me. It's been a pleasure, an utter pleasure to be with us today. And hope to see you next week, Tuesday, right here on Growth Habits. Remember that the time is 1 p.m. I know this 1 p.m. is affecting a lot of people because they are still expecting 12 noon. 1 p.m. Nigerian time is the time, which means, well, it depends on which part of the United States you're actually in. If you're in the central time, that is 6 a.m. if you're in central time. then, depending on whichever time, for some, for people who are in like the state of California, it's like 4 a.m. So I know you won't be able to watch live. You will have to catch the replay. You will have to catch the replay. Um, but yeah, thank you for joining me. It is always a pleasure to be with us on Growth Habits. Remember to make today and every day count. Don't forget that. Make each and every day count. Be valuable always and ensure that you are growing. Thank you for joining me and see you next week, Tuesday, right here on Growth Habits with Ngozi. Remember, we're talking about building habits that will match this God aligned vision. And please do your task, the action steps for the week. Do it. Set aside that time to do a vision session. Craft your vision statement. There's even something that's some I used to do this before. There's a lot of things I used to do. I used to have a word for each year, separate from my vision statement for the year, a word for each year. And that word guides just about everything for that year. I remember the year that the word I had was afraid. I couldn't even understand, I didn't even understand what that meant. But as the year went on, I began to comprehend what it meant. So after crafting your vision, consider having a word for the year. Remember, this word does not come from your head, it comes from prayer. It comes from the place of prayer. It comes from the place of being in God's presence. He will give you that word that will guide your year. So consider having a word for the year, even as you craft your vision statement for 2026. And then identify habits that will help you achieve each of the goals. So see you next week, Tuesday, when we do talk about those habits that you need to do. Thank you once again and have an awesome day. Bye.